The FujiCast is an independent loading zone production.
Kev, you remember those things, what you used to photograph, called weddings?
Vaguely. They sometimes come back in my nightmares.
Oh, Kev. And you're doing a video course on it. Well, I was at one the other day, and I've never seen this before. People often put little bibs and stuff on each other, don't they? Just to because you're wearing your best bib and tucker, as my grandma would have called it, and you want to protect it. But I've never seen a whole, the sort of ponchos that are whipped out that are used at amusement parks when you're going through the log flume and you don't want to ruin your Sunday best. Out came the tomato soup, and apparently the bride had the worst eating habits ever, and so she was given a poncho to wear. Have you ever seen anything like that?
I don't think I've seen it on the bride. I have seen people wear various, things like that. Now, of course, the original meaning of a tie was to protect you from dripping gravy down your chest.
No, was it?
Yeah, that's what ties were invented
Well, they're
for.
tiny, thin things. How are they going to protect you?
Well, they were cravats originally, weren't they? They were big, fat things.
Oh, right.
And then they kind of migrated into fashion statements. But yeah, they were originally invented as a protection for food, but I don't think I've ever seen a bride in a full
poncho.
I've seen one when because it's been raining.
Do you fancy a cravat? Do you think that our new artisan Kev would sport a cravat well?
I wore a cravat in my first wedding.
No.
Yeah, and neither the cravat nor the wedding
lasted. No.
The FujiCast.
Well, that says it all. Don't wear a cravat at your wedding. It's bad luck. Anyway, welcome to the FujiCast. Here we are again. I can't believe these weeks go past so quickly. When we last spoke, Kev, politics hadn't quite imploded the way that we were discussing just a moment ago, but we'll try and stay clear of.
But also, last time we spoke, the television wasn't inundated, and I mean absolutely inundated with Christmas adverts. 1st November, Christmas adverts. Every advert's Christmas advert.
So I'm quite enjoying the Christmas thing early. I've got the radio station Heart Christmas. As I've firmly tuned to that on the very first day of November. In fact, just a few days prior to that, and it's been my journey friend ever since, Kev.
Oh, you word! Still got a quarter of the year, third of the year, fifth of the year to go. Christmas, 1st of December.
Perfect time for simply having a wonderful. That's my favourite one. I love that one. I can see I'm not preaching to the choir on that one. Oh, and we had an Archbishop of Canterbury 2 weeks ago as well. But that's an English thing we should perhaps not talk about.
I photographed a wedding where he was the vicar, he was such a nice guy.
He was the vicar.
Well, he was the presiding person, they call it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether an archbishop is called a vicar or not when they're presiding over a service.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's been called a decidedly nice guy, but when you have decidedly horrible things you have to deal with in a decidedly important way, that's the bit where... Anyway, let's not go into that territory. See, Kev, the news, it's just such a minefield, Kev. Mm-hmm. We are so much better here just talking about Fujifilm cameras and having a good time and not talking about all those idiots that rule the world.
Don't be rude.
So, also you can go through the face, not you, Kev, obviously. You can go through the Facebook group as well. Have you got lots of Facebook questions this week for the show, Kev?
One.
Oh.
There's been one new one since we last... well, I'm saying that. I'm assuming Neale's been keeping his side of the bargain.
No, he's very good.
And we've got plenty of questions that are hanging around, but I think there's only been one new.
Oh.
And I have to go back to Facebook, which I absolutely despise.
I've now, by the way, I'm following you. Has Twitter gone? I'm not going to call it X. Has Twitter gone for you yet, Kev? Is it gone? Is it gone?
It hasn't gone. I've requested my archive, but they haven't sent it yet. But as soon as they do, then it will be gone.
That's because they've.
I never use it.
That's because they've got stuff on you, Kev. The only reason I was holding on to it was so that I could complain to British Gas every now and then.
Well, I used to use TweetDeck. I used to like Twitter when it was Twitter, and I used to use TweetDeck because it was great. And you could have columns, and you can look at things and everything. But now, of course, to use TweetDeck, you've got to have a premium subscription thing.
Oh, have you? All right.
And that's the end of that. So I'm not. I will be getting rid of it as soon as I get my archive. I'll check again today. I didn't check yesterday.
And then it's properly gone.
Bye. I don't use Threads either. I do have a Threads account.
I really hoped that Threads was going to make a difference. I thought, right, okay, it's on the same platform. It feels quite comfortable, and it's not Musk. And I really hoped it would work. And it's not. I don't think it's not enthused anybody, has it? And I wonder, where's it gone wrong, Kev? Where did Threads go wrong? What is it about Threads that hasn't worked? In our humble opinions,
I don't know. I mean, you can only go back to the fact that Twitter was first and is synonymous with that kind of social media, or X, whatever you want to call it these days. And that's, if it was only ever really going to work, Threads, if all of the media, the news, the huge social channels that rely on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it.
Okay, let's stop.
Also,
Kev, stop. Kev, stop. You want to call the X100 the VI, okay? I will agree with that if we can refer to X as Twitter in the future.
No, I don't agree with that because it's a name change to X. There's no difference in the Fujifilm X100 VI and the V. There's no, it's not. Doesn't have a 6 written on the camera, does it?
Okay,
VI.
All right, you Musk lover, you.
I don't have any need for Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, any longer. So I'll go. But Threads, Threads was. I have a Threads account.
It was the promised land, wasn't it? Promised land.
They kind of set it up, but I think it was one of those things that I don't know. I don't know how many people use that short form social media anymore, like in our circles at least. I see it absolutely being useful or still being very powerful for news, for contacting companies, that kind of thing. But I think the grown-ups use LinkedIn, don't they? And the young whippersnappers use Instagram and TikTok, chat back and all of that kind of stuff, whatever it is. And me and you, we use
paper and pen.
We use Messenger.
Messenger, yeah. Well, Jack and Thomas get all their news from TikTok. What a reliable source that is. So we're, Anyway, thank you. First of all, before we start with your questions, or question, as may be the case from the Facebook file, our thanks to PickTime for sponsoring this show and being there for us for quite some time now. pick-time.com is the website address for this amazing service that both myself and Kev use to show our photographs after we've photographed events. As far as weddings are concerned, I used to use another service. I've never looked back since I went to PickTime because I really love the way that you can present your work. It's really important. I like the fact that you can apply really simple download strategies. Don't I sound grown up? For your clients that are using the site. I've used it in the last couple of weeks for a couple of commercial jobs as well. It's just worked brilliantly. I love it. It looks good. It looks professional. Helps me show and sell wares really, really easily. And it's the same for you, really, Kev, isn't it?
100%. Yeah. It's I'm coming up to my renewal time, actually. End of November, I think, is my renewal time. So I look forward to I don't know what it is now, $250 or whatever it is to be sucked out of my bank account. But I have no qualms about it whatsoever because it earns me a lot more money than I spent on it.
Oh, well, can I just remind you, Kev, of the £2,000 that came in while you were standing there one day just watching floats go by in your local town's carnival?
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't get much better than that.
No, that's true. And that gives me about 7 years of credit in terms of paying fees.
Yeah.
So... While we're on the note of people helping us, we want to help you this time, dear listeners. So Loa, the walking boot company, they sell amazing boots and shoes and high-end kind of walking boots. Both Neale and I have been using them for a while. This isn't really a sponsored thing in any way, shape or form, but Tim, who I photographed his wedding, is high up in the Loa company and has offered, dear listeners, a free, there's a caveat, of course, pair of Loa Innovo boots worth around about £190 to a lucky listener. And we have decided that the fairest way to do this is basically over the next 4 weeks, any questions that get sent in, we will just randomly draw out of a hat and that person will then be put in touch with Tim, who will get those Innovo boots worth around about £190 out to that person. However, the slight little caveat, because of legalese and janglese and problemese, is that it is UK only. So anybody from the UK who sends a question in over the next 4 weeks, please say, I'm from the UK in your questions, whether that's email or whether it's on the Facebook group, and you'll be in with a chance. Bearing in mind we only had one question in the last 2 weeks, you might be in with a good chance.
Yeah. Well, though we've had some good email questions in as well. So
okay, fair enough.
So the emails are in there as well.
If you wanna see what those boots look like, go to lowa.co.uk, lowa.co.uk, and the boots that are up for grabs are the Innovo ones, INNOVO.
And if you want to join in the fun with PickTime, then we have a special offer there as well. You just go to pick-time.com and at checkout enter FujiCast, all one word, and you will get 1 month free. There we go. Oh, we have a question actually from Errol Ebanks about PickTime. I've been using PickTime forever and got one client who requested having event photos where everybody can download for free. My policy is only main client can download, but they want this instead. How do I go about that, not having the client dictate or possibly leave money on the table? I mean, in terms of actually setting it so that everybody can download for free, that's easy, isn't it? That's just in your settings for downloads. You can set that on high res or low res. That's easy. But his question, I think, is how does he go about not having the client dictate or possibly leave some money on the table? I.e., how can you say to your client politely, I'm sorry, that's not the way we play. And if you do want to play that way, could you leave maybe, 400 quid on the table? I think that's what he's asking, isn't he? That sort of thing. How would you go about that?
I've got to say, I don't really understand the question.
Well, look, he uses PickTime.
Yeah.
And he's got a client, an event client. So I've just done an event, and actually I did all the downloads for free on that one because it's not a print thing, it's not an album thing, and I know that it was a charity thing as well, so it helps people. So he's done an event, and the client has essentially said, Errol, I don't really want to pay for or people that are seeing this event. I don't want them to have to pay for it. So it could be like a black tie event, and you put all your pictures up, your gallery's gone up, and he's attached a download fee or whatever fees for buying product. And the client has said, no. Could you just let everybody download stuff for free, please? Now, Errol's policy is, no. You can have it for free because you're the client, but everybody else has to pay. So the question is, what I'm reading between the lines here, Kev, is how do I tell the client, I don't really want you to dictate this? And if you are going to, could you give me some more money, please, to cover the money I could have made on selling digital downloads or whatever? Yeah,
so that's the facilitation of that in PickTime is very easy.
Yeah, as we said,
you have you have client-only downloads. But yeah, this is before that. This is before you book this gig. You set it out in your terms and conditions. On the rare occasions I've done those kind of black tie print on an evening events.
I'm using that as an example, by the way. It's not necessarily what it is.
Yeah. But I've done it a few times in the past, long time ago, and essentially there was two options. The clients could pay me a smallish fee to turn up on the evening, and then I would charge per print for the people. You run a risk that you don't sell any prints, of course, but I did. Or you charge a much larger fee, and the prints are free to the people on the evening.
Yeah.
But that's a contractual talk to have with them. You can't. I certainly wouldn't be having this conversation after the event. No, this is something that must be taken into consideration.
Well, Errol, quite rightly, might feel a bit hijacked by all this.
Well, he might feel quite hijacked by it, but there's a lesson learnt then, isn't there, for Errol, that these conversations and this should be contractually, written down, that these are the T's and C's from the event I'm about to do for you. Either I'm there giving things away for free and this is the price, or I'm doing the shoot and then the price for digital downloads thereafter is going to be this. So if this is an event that's happened in the past, then it's a lesson learned. That's the way I would look at it. And right now, if they were saying that, now if they were expecting it to be free and you weren't, then you just got to go back to them and say, look, that's not how it works. That's not how it should be working. No. This is how it is, and see how far they throw their dummy out of the pram, basically. But really, this is something that should be discussed and dealt with before the shoot itself.
Dot your I's, cross your T's.
Correct.
As my dad used to say. Is there a better way of, when you're at an event like a wedding, of trying to push sales a bit more through something like PicTime? Because I'm sure, absolutely sure, a lot of the guests will probably never ever get to see a gallery, yet may well have bought the odd print or digital download because they'll think, oh, isn't that lovely? That's one of us. That is. Oh, we've got to have that one. Kev did that.
Yeah. So the way you would do that with PicTime is you can do a pre-registration for a gallery. So you can set up a gallery before a wedding, and you can get a pre-registration link. And I would then suggest that you say to the clients, look, if you're interested in this, why don't you pop this pre-registration link on the what they call it, the order of service, or just on the tables, wedding tables, whatever, or just get one of the best men to shout it out during the speeches, and then that pre-registration is in place. You can dress it up, and make it look really nice. And then when the images are ready, it will ping an email to all of those people that have pre-registered, and then they can go, oh, look, there I am.
Do you know how some people though don't
my
feel...
poncho eating my dinner.
Yeah, that's it. Do you know how some people don't feel so comfortable giving email addresses, especially these days? Is there the other way of doing it perhaps could be to use a client link on, again, PicTime have one, but other services do as well. Just put
you can only do that once the gallery is created.
No, you can put a gallery up there with a kind of holding slide on it. That's what I've done in the past myself.
Yeah, but honestly, that whole idea about people being uncomfortable about giving their emails, the world lives on emails. That wouldn't bother me. No. That's just that's the way things are, aren't they? You've got to give your email address to get things. Yeah. That's just the end of it. I would do it the proper way. Set up a pre-registration gallery or hold-in section and get the emails in. There's a tick box that says don't contact me again, and PicTime honours that. You can't send anything after that. It's half of the course, isn't it? I mean, I get far more angry at all of those ridiculous pop-ups on websites that say, click here to consent to cookies before you can look at anything else. I'm so over that. I mostly just don't bother with those websites anymore.
It's so proper grumpy. I'm glad you like the email idea, because we've got a few products which we get a good discount on if we sign people up. So I've signed you up on about 5 things in the last week.
That's fine.
Dog food, whole lot coming through, Kev. Facebook, have you got one?
Yes.
You got the one.
This is the most recent one from Dan Croft.
Yeah.
And he says, for Kevin Neale, what has been your greatest achievement so far in photography? It doesn't have to be something that has given you recognition or validated by somebody else. Literally anything you consider to be an achievement.
Podcasts for me, Kev, which is, you might say, it's not very photographic, but it is. It's given me the opportunity to talk with you. Got us through COVID, I think, podcasts. Talk to the most amazing people I thought I'd never have the opportunity to talk with, such as Joel Meyer-Ritz, one of my, and I know your heroes of photography. It's given me the opportunity to communicate with people that I would otherwise never have had the chance to do. That I think is the greatest achievement. Plus taking a few nice photos now and then.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
I don't know. I answered. He put this as a normal thread on the Facebook group as well, and I answered it a bit tongue-in-cheek, which was, and I said, 800 weddings ago, going to my first wedding thinking I have no idea what I'm doing, and then going to the next 800 weddings thinking I have no idea what I'm doing, and then after retiring thinking, well, I must have known what I was doing a bit.
Yeah.
But I think probably if we're going on tangents like that, then I mean, you and I both have had some amazing experiences through this thing, but I think probably, if I have to look back and at the proudest thing, ironically, would be the presets that I built, because they're my income now, essentially, and they've done so amazingly well that I never expected them to do. And they were born from lockdown. So as much as lockdown was awful, it actually pushed me in the direction that has kind of ended me up here, really. But I think that, and there's lots of other things, really, isn't there? Journeys, people have met, all that kind of stuff. But I think, if I kind of have to sit down and go, what's the proudest thing, the greatest achievement? I think from a monetary term, at least, it has to be that.
I didn't go for the monetary one.
Well, I suppose kind of you did with podcasting, didn't you?
Well, not really. I mean, if you put my podcast business versus your preset business, I know which P's making more money.
For now.
You are taking the P in that contest. But you're don't stop buying presets from Kev, otherwise his family will not be eating for Christmas.
Well, we're going to my mother-in-law's for Christmas, so it's fine.
Oh, are you? Oh, yeah. I'm never quite sure about going somewhere else. I'm a bit of a home sort of stead person when it comes to Christmas now. I don't like to be too far from my...
I think we've only, since the kids have been alive, I think we've only been at home once for Christmas, and that was the COVID Christmas. I love going to other people's houses for Christmas. So much cheaper.
Oh, Kev. See, that the presets and you saving money at Christmas time. This is, Kev, you got it sorted. You really... I've always said this. Kev, I am the artisan in Montmartre, just having a chat with various other artists that at one stage in history had serious reservations about parts of their anatomy, talking about how poor we are and that we're never recognised, whilst you're eating off the king's plate. Perfect.
I don't know about that. Perfect. I'm eating off other people's plates.
Right, Jussi Jääskeläinen. Jääskeläinen was the footballer, wasn't he?
There was a Jääskeläinen football player. Yeah, I think he played for Liverpool.
And he was Finnish as well, wasn't he, Jääskeläinen?
Yeah. Well, I think so. Certainly that kind of area.
Do you think this Jussi Jääskeläinen is maybe any kind of relation to the other Jääskeläinen?
I don't know.
There's got to be more than one Jääskeläinen, obviously, in Finland.
Probably the equivalent of Smith in Finland.
Yeah, that's... Yeah. Hi, Kev. Hi, Neale. Oh, no, it says, hey, Kevin James and Neil Mullins. So I missed that bit. I'm in a bit of a pickle, and I think some other listeners might be in similar situations. I like the fact that Jussi is using a very sort of quaint English term there. I'm in a bit of a pickle. Maybe that's a Finnish one as well. And I think some other listeners might be in similar situations. I have misplaced some of my original Fujifilm accessories for my X-T4. Where's a good place to get official replacement accessories, and what should I look out for if I go for third-party stuff, or he says on the third-party route? For reference, I am in Central Europe. Thanks for the show, and all the best, Jussi Jääskeläinen, which means he's not living in Finland, because it's much more north, isn't it?
Isn't Finland classed as Central Europe? I think, isn't it? I don't know, maybe not. Anyway, but whatever. I would say my first point of call for bits that I need, such as lens caps and stuff like that, is the official Fujifilm store. It is the UK store, but they would ship internationally. I'm absolutely sure of it. And they do tend to have like lens caps and eye cups and straps and all of that kind of stuff available. So that would be my first point of call. And I'll tell you what the URL is for that is eshop.fujifilm-x.com.
Yep.
That would be my first point of call.
That's where I would go, yeah.
After that, there's loads of accessory makers, isn't there? You can basically get whatever you want. You get third-party batteries, you can get third-party hot shoe plates, you can get third-party straps, lens caps, all of that stuff. I'd be tempted to do a little bit of research, look at the reviews, look for the kind of names that are more well-known. But really, doesn't matter too much about the accessories, does it? In terms of the only one that I would be careful that
batteries.
Well, batteries, yes, yeah, true. Batteries, you want to go for either Duracell or Neale or whatever, one of the bigger names. Don't go for a really cheap kind of import, because they might just explode in your camera. But the other one I would be careful of if you use them is what they call them, thumb release little things you screw into the shutter button.
Oh yeah.
There's little kind of, you have red and blue ones and things like that, because some of them can damage the thread inside, and that thread is also, it can actually be used for activating the shutter itself in terms of cable releases and what have you. So just make sure if you're getting one of them, you don't go for ones that are like 50 of them for £5 on eBay or something. Go for a proper one.
Batteries, I've always thought, that's one thing I don't mess around with, batteries. I always buy proprietary batteries, because Was it Fujifilm or was it Canon? It might have been in the crossover period, so this might be a Canon story, but I remember buying some third-party batteries, and the camera overheated, and some really weird stuff happened with the tech inside the camera. And I've never done it since. I've always thought, no, buy proprietary batteries.
Yeah, and I've got a couple of third-party batteries for my older slithery white batteries, Fujifilm ones for like the original X100 and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I agree with you. I mean, there was a friend of mine, trying to think of his name, Gordon. Anyway, it doesn't.
Yeah, he has to have a job.
We shouldn't tell his name anyway. Anyway, he had a Sony camera and he had a third-party battery, and the whole thing just exploded. And
God.
It wasn't the camera's fault. It was the battery. It was a cheap kind of import battery, and it expanded in the camera and pushed too much stuff. Happened inside, and boom, the whole thing went up.
Gordon has to have some sort of nickname. Everybody in your life has a nickname. I mean, there's Disco Dave.
Explosive Gordon.
Explosive
or Unlucky Gordon.
Unlucky Gordon. Oh, yes, Finland, by the way, is Northern Europe. I had to check then. I thought, I'm not sure. Maybe Kev's right. But no, that's definitely Northern. If you look at where it is in the world. It borders Sweden to the northwest, Norway to the north, and Russia to the east. Central is Poland, Czech Republic, Slovakia, Latvia, Estonia, Finland, Ukraine, and Lithuania. I'm going to Lithuania for a couple of days in the summer, Kev.
Are you?
Yeah, well, we've doing this sort of this. We've got a week. Our eldest Jack doesn't want to come on exploring. I'll meet you in Tenerife. So we're a little bit concerned about that he's actually going to go to Gatwick on his own and get a flight for the next part of the journey to meet us in Tenerife, the week that we have as a calm week. But the first week we're going to 3 different locations. We start in Germany, then we're going to go north to Lithuania, because we've never been to Lithuania, and it looks fabulous. And then we're going to go somewhere else, Kev. I'm hoping that you might be in Spain at that time, because that would be our freebie. A bit like when you go to Christmas, on Christmas Day to everybody else. We're going to come to you for a couple of days in the summer.
Well, I'm hoping I'll be in Spain for quite a lot of next year also, assuming the house is still there and hasn't been washed into the valley.
Oh, yeah, God. Yeah, no. Yeah.
Right, let's do this book.
That's good news then. So I shall come and see you in Spain. Right, bookity book.
Yep,
this one's Martin Ellard, who's a friend of the show, actually, isn't he?
Yeah, so Martin actually, while I was on holiday, a couple of weeks off, I was going to say Easter then, but it wasn't. It was October half term, wasn't it? Yeah. And a couple of books turned up. So we've got a couple of little things from Martin this week. And then next show, we will do the other book that came through, which was from Daz Smith. So Daz, if you're listening, you are ready and rolling next time. So this is actually a book that's quite close to my heart. And so Martin sent a letter with it, which I'll read. It makes sense to read it because then I can explain it. Dear Kevin and Neale, I've enclosed my new zines.
It's all right. Zines is fine, Kev.
Says, I know Kev is not a fan of the term.
You'll have to get used to it,
It's been something that has inspired me to get work printed and sent out to the world.
Yes, yeah.
Rather than a phone screen or splashing out on a full-blown published book. There we go. Fair enough. I've been collecting photo books over the years from my first Magnum book, which was In Our Time, all the way back from when I was in college. And this is where my Welsh coal miners book, Pentwyn No. 3 Colliery, was conceived and created, and that's the book we've got here in front of us. Oh, right. 32 years ago, so this is the story. This is why it's so great. 32 years ago, in my second and final year of a HND photography course in Swansea, I had been very lucky to get a couple of weeks' work experience at Magnum's London office. It was everything I needed to inspire me while focusing my photography course in the direction of documentary photojournalism. Yeah. On my return from London, I was ready for my final project, documenting life in a privately owned coal mine in the Swansea Valley, one of the last ones to still use pit ponies. I had access and spent a few months returning to the site, going underground and capturing daily life. The negatives and transparencies were filed away after college and only brought out very occasionally, usually when looking for something else. Since making more time for street photography over the last few years, for as much a mental health reason as anything else, I have been drawn into the ever-growing online street community, and this has made me want to print work and introduce me to the world of zines. I started posting the occasional mining photo on my Instagram and received lovely responses. With the 40th anniversary of the UK miners' strikes next year, it seemed a good time for a softer photo book. so Pentwyn felt a perfect project to resurrect. It's been quite a journey experimenting with the editing and sequencing, a little different to my wedding albums, although I used the same software to help work on the pages. And once I'd finished the mining book, I felt inspired to make another. So he has sent us 2. Yeah. This time I gathered my favourite images from the last 2 years of visiting the Elvis Festival in Porthcawl in South Wales. Which I've been to before, by the way. If you haven't been there, Kev, which I have, it's a wild weekend. I wanted to make it a more traditional A5 portrait shape, as this was the format of zines I'd brought from other photographers over the years. So I hope I haven't said zine too many times. Yes, too many times. I hope you like them. Yes, I do. And I hope Neale gets to see them at some point too. No, he won't. Best regards, Martin Ellard.
Why won't I get to see it, Kev?
So before I talk, well, you can if you come over here. Right. Before I talk about the book, Martin's Instagram, and you should definitely give him a follow, is Martin Ellard Photographer, MartinEllard Photographer for weddings, and Martin Ellard Street for street work. And his website is martinellardweddingphotography.co.uk. So first, Pentwyn Colliery number 3, absolutely wonderful little book. He sent me, which is mine and mine only, a limited edition print, which is kind of floating in there as well. I shall put that on my wall. Thank you very much, Neale. You can look at that when you come over. And when we think about documentary photography, now I don't know. You'll have to go to Martin's website and see whether this is available. This is a numbered edition of the book, 4 out of 50. So I'm suspecting there's not many available, but maybe if you talk to him nicely, you can get a hold of one. I'm sure the images are on his Instagram. It's such a lovely collection of images from a time gone by, and there's a real sense of being there, a real sense of being there. So remember, this is mid 80s, I'm guessing now. For these images, so all shot on film, very, very well executed. Amazing use of control of light, especially in the underground parts of the pit. And you've got all of these guys covered in black coal with the whites of their eyes piercing through, which I love that. And there's some very well executed portraits as well, considered portraits, I think. And then there's the whole kind of story throughout about the pit ponies. A lot of people those pit ponies are, were poor, sad little animals, but they did have, they had a meaning in life, I suppose, and they helped kind of produce a lot of coal, which was important at the time. If you're into such things, you can see a few naked bums in the showers.
What?
And that actually, funny enough, is my favourite book in the whole zine, however you want to call it.
The favourite picture, you mean?
Whilst there is a few naked bums,
right.
And if you look very, very carefully, you might see something a little bit more exciting than a bum.
What?
But outside of the shower is this chap stood there about to get unchanged. Or no, actually, he's clean, so he's probably had his shower.
Yeah.
And he just sat there, got his vest on. It was very much 1980s vest, cigarette hanging from his mouth, big smile on his face, while his mates are in the background having their showers. Love it, love that. And there's just, sometimes you get photo books where the images are just interesting, but there's not too much thought into the composition and the use of light. But actually, I think in this case, Martin's the Pentwyn book at least, the artistic element of it is as impressive as the storytelling within. I really, 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 really like this book. Really like it. And it is 1992 it was, sorry. We visited the mine regularly. One page on the front that has the little bit of introduction, pretty much what I just read out to you in the letter, and the rest is just pictures and then the copyright statement at the end. And the very final picture is a chap walking down the exit to the pit with the pony behind him, carrier bag in hand, helmet in his other hand. Very, very poignant. Great book. Really, really beautiful. Thank you for sending it in, Martin. Even if it is a zine, I'll forgive you in this case. But what I will say to you, though, is you mentioned in your letter about, the effort and kind of cost of doing a full-blown book. I think you'd find legs in a book, a real book of this, and I think you'd probably find some commercial value in it as well if you were so wished to experiment with that. He also then did send the A5 Elvis in Porthcawl book, which is much more of a zine, more like a shape and size of a football program, if you like. Right. But again, some very great images, and like I said, I have been there, so I do know what goes on there. during the day at least. What goes on in the evening is anybody's guess. But there's a great central spread picture here of one of the bars outside, nicest summer's day. Everybody's kind of sat there. Remember, this is recent, so there's some people vaping. They've got beers. There's people holding cans of Carlin, having great chats and all that kind of stuff. And then in the back, there's a lady sat on a wall, and then in the background is this chap with his chest wide open, with his Elvis beard on, and his glasses, and his what do they have those things in Honolulu? They put them around your neck.
They're called there's a name for them, but I know what you mean. The chains that you put
garland.
Yeah.
But he's clearly breathing in, holding his bottle of beer, breathing in like we all do when somebody's taking a photo of us. A lot of fun and really good. And you know what? I'm envious of this kind of work. I'm very envious of it because I've never done this kind of stuff. Yeah. And whether I ever do or not, I don't know. But there's a lot of time and effort put into both of these things. So you should be absolutely very proud, Martin. And I strongly, strongly suggest that people hunt down Martin's content and take a look. So Martin Ellard Street for street photography, Martin Ellard photographer, for the weddings, if you so wish.
Yeah, I've just been looking at the wedding work. Absolutely beautiful. It's called a lei, L-E-I, a lei. A Hawaiian garland is a lei.
Oh, okay.
You've always talked about not having time for projects. Now's your chance, Kev. This is it. This is project.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, you're right. And maybe 2025 is the year that I try and hunt out something like that. Yeah. But isn't it funny that again, we talk about this so many times. Those images of the mine, really, it's nostalgia that wins with that. Yeah. If you go and do a project now of a modern farm, for example, it won't have the same impact. It just doesn't have the same impact because it's existing now. That doesn't mean absolutely there's no story there. Of course it doesn't. No. But how long do you wait before you've got a story based on nostalgia? And ultimately, I think photo books are people who are looking at for nostalgia.
Yeah. Well, Kev, can you hear in the background now? Can you hear something building?
No.
Can't you?
Is it that dog?
Come on, Kev. That's Welsh singing in a mine.
Oh, I can't hear any of that.
Oh, can't you? Oh, no, I've not set it so it goes out to your channel. Oh, you would have been thinking, what's he talking about? Oh, that's a shame because...
there's no mines left, so we can't do that.
No, but I went to one of the big pits, one of the coal museums. I don't know if it's Blenavon or...
Yeah, Blenavon. Big pit is in Blenavon, yeah.
Is it Blenavon? But I'm not sure it's that one. That's not north, is it? Blenavon or Blenavon?
Oh, it's kind of South Wales, but I'm sure there's probably some in Yorkshire.
No. This was definitely Wales because I went. It was a huge drop down into the pit. It gave you a real feeling of my God, doing this every day. There was a bit of fear actually going down there. But when we got right down to the bottom, they were doing something. They were rehearsing for a special event, and there were some Colliery singers down there, and they were singing, and just the cavern, Kev. I can't tell you what it was the most incredible sound. I wish you'd have heard that. You'll hear it when the show goes out, but unfortunately, I've not got we haven't got the right thing programmed for you to hear it. Oh, that's such a shame. But you'll hear it when it goes out. But it was beautiful, Kev. I mean, when they say that Colliery singers can bring a tear to the eye of a grown man, they are absolutely correct, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just the most incredible sound. Right. Have you got something from Facebook, or shall I go for another question from the emails?
We've got one. We go. Jan Francis says, "Hi Neil, hi Kev. After a temporary downturn in my private economy, I had to sell off my beloved X-T3 and a couple of lenses. I worked out that I could trade in the X-T3 for something else and still get by. I chose an XE1. I used MPB, Neil, as he says.
Good.
As he says, after you banging it on about so much on the photo walk.
Well, good. I'm glad it's made its mark.
Yeah. And I use MPB as well if I have to sell anything. Very good service. I had to give it a go. Anyway, works like you said. MPB he's talking about. At the same time, I stumbled over the usage of vintage lenses. I had an old Minolta SRT 101B with a 55 mm 1.7 lens on it, which is a very nice portrait lens on the XE1 with a relevant adapter, of course. What I thought was going to be a big step back actually turned out to get the fingers tingling over all the new stuff I would be learning. My question, finally, is have you guys ever gone down this rabbit hole? Any tips, tricks on what does and doesn't work? I've already decided the XE1 will be sticking around, regardless of whether I later find myself in a position to buy a new camera, as it has been really fun to use already, and it means I can keep taking photographs. Yeah. Best regards to you both, Jan.
I'm looking for my... Hold on a moment. It's over here. My X Pro 1. And I've got a lens on there from Tim. Tim sent this lens in. Actually, he sent it for us both, but I got it. And in much the same way as you've kept
seems fair enough,
kept all the books, I'm keeping this. Tim Binder, who's a friend of the show, of course. He sent a Yashica lens, a 28mm vintage lens, which is firmly attached to, what is it, to the Photo-Z, is that the way you pronounce it? Adapter that goes into the X Pro 1. And I don't think I've taken off this camera now, Kev, for about 3 years, possibly. I love vintage lens and vintage lenses. You do as well, don't you?
Well, I've got a couple that I've used on the GFX. I wouldn't say I use them in any anger, but I actually think, my head was just turning around and looking at this pile of old cameras that I've got that I've kind of inherited, and they've all got lenses on and stuff. So maybe next year part of my little project will be to dig that stuff out. I've got to go through all of that stuff and figure out what's what at some point. At the moment, it's just sitting there collecting dust. What
about a project then with one roll of film put through each one of those film cameras?
Nah, I that doesn't interest me enough. No? I mean, it does interest me, but there's too much effort involved. I don't know how to print. I wouldn't want to be sending it off to a lab. I'd want to do it myself, and I don't have that knowledge. So maybe one of the things I'll do. I
can teach you that. You can do that bit in Granny's knickers.
I know, but I don't have the space. That I don't want the chemicals. I don't want There's reasons why I don't do that, but I do need to go through all of those cameras and figure out what's what and what I'm going to do with it all.
Just in case you're thinking, what's Granny's knickers? That's a colloquial name for a changing bag. So that project's not going to. But you've got all those vintage lenses and stuff. So yeah.
But the vintage lens stuff is great, and it's a good idea, especially if you're on a budget, because you can get some amazing old lenses. Watch out for those Russian ones that are nuclear.
We talked about those before.
Yeah, they do. They have.
What was it about those lenses? Let me look it up. Russian,
glass, isn't it?
Russian lenses that are radioactive.
Radioactive lenses. Yeah.
Radioactive lenses. Soviet lenses. Here we go. Oh no. Yes, some Russian lenses are radioactive because lens manufacturers used radioactive materials like thorium dioxide and lanthanum in their lens coatings between the 40s and the 1980s, Kev. So it was quite a while.
Yeah. There's a lot of note there. I mean, not enough to be worried about, but if you put a Geiger counter next to them, you might just get a funny noise.
Yeah.
But Jonas Rask, if you go onto Jonas Rask's website, he deep down into his archives, he's got a load of stuff about using vintage lenses with Fujifilm cameras. So that might be a nice place to start. He's a great photographer as well with those lenses. So have a look at those and see where you get.
Have you ever bought a Geiger counter, Kev?
Have I ever bought a Geiger counter?
Yeah.
No, it's not something that I've ever really thought of.
Do you know, I've never even thought of it before. Are they available? Yes, of course they are. You can buy them as little as 21 quid for a Geiger counter. A good one on Amazon. Here's one that's suggested. Nuclear radiation detector, 99 quid, Kev. Yeah, and then you could, because I was just reading here, the most reliable way to determine whether your lenses are radioactive is by measuring it with a Geiger counter, which we all have one of those in our cupboards, obviously.
I just look at how green people are going around me.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I think my one's all right. Yashica lens, I think we're okay. Put that over there. We're safe. Have we got time for any others, Kev, or do you think it's? I think that's last orders at the bar time. Actually, Kev, we've dealt with it. We've dealt with everything from books, what you're going to keep, through to Geiger counters and stuff in between. So, you've used up the one question that was sent in the last 2 weeks. So we kind of we're really needing some more. So
There are loads of questions I haven't got through yet, so
right, okay.
we're not that desperate. But I will. I'm relying on the good man Neale to keep the spreadsheet up to date, which he seems to have been doing so far. So,
If you'd like
thank you so much, Neale.
Yes, thank you. Hats off to Neale. If you'd like to send a question in, how do you do it, Kev? If you're using Facebook.
Go to Facebook, search for FujiCast, join the group, and at the top there is a post that says questions for the show 2024. I'm going to have to change that soon. Pop it in there, basically.
And if you want to send in one by email, then click at fujicast.co.uk is the email address. Click at fujicast.co.uk. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Happy Christmas, Kev. Turn that Christmas music on, Kev. Go on. You know you want it.
The FujiCast is an independent loading zone production. Email the show with your questions and words of wisdom to click@fujicast.co.uk. Email any complaints and political nonsense to our wives, who will deal with your comments in their own good time and in their own good way.